Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Blue Dog Whisperer podcast. I'm Evan Grollman. You can find my podcast on Facebook at the Blue Dog Whisperer, and please give it a like. So, on today's episode, I want to discuss cancel culture. It's been in the news and it's been talked about all over for quite some time now. And I want to discuss the politics of cancel culture and why I think cancel culture is so dangerous for our society. So, progressives seem to think that cancel culture is nothing more than accountability, and that if you say something that's offensive, you should be held accountable, and that freedom of speech does not mean freedom from consequences. Now, the problem that I have with that statement is this: there are other ways to deal with people who offend you besides canceling them or silencing them. This is not about accountability, because if it's about accountability, there are many other ways that you can hold someone accountable. You can speak back. You can tell someone why what they said was offensive. You can write an article about it. You can publish an op-ed. You can make a podcast like what I'm doing. It doesn't mean that you have to demand that they be fired from their job. And unfortunately, that happens quite a bit with cancel culture. And a lot of times, cancel culture is not even applying to people who say offensive things, and I don't even want to say offensive, because not everyone who says something who is the victim of cancel culture has actually said or done something offensive. Sometimes it's just politically incorrect. And that's an issue. That's an issue. It's not just about offending people anymore. It's about challenging progressives. It's about daring to go against the PC culture that is quite evident in a lot of areas of our society, particularly on college campuses. So I don't understand it. And what I also don't understand is why some people tolerate it and actually deny that it's happening. There are some people who legitimately think that there's no such thing as cancel culture or no problem with cancel culture. The thing of it is that these people are usually progressives, and I have a question for these progressives. How do you feel about cancel culture for the Bernie supporters who bullied and cyber harassed the supporters of Joe Biden online? Do they deserve accountability? Because I don't remember progressives ever saying that those people should be held accountable. All I remember was silence or excuses about how the media was blowing it out of proportion. So cyber harassment is not subject to uh, canceling someone. What about the supporters of Ed Markey who bullied Joe Kennedy and his supporters when they said that the wrong Kennedy was shot by Lee Harvey Oswald? There was no accountability for that. All I remember were progressives saying, you can't generalize all of us. You can't do that. So it's not actually about accountability, because if progressives actually thought that it was about accountability, they would have been the first ones calling for the people who cyberbullied and cyber harassed the supporters of moderate to liberal candidates to be held accountable in some way. And that's the thing. Cancel culture is not about accountability. It's not about being nice. It's about control. It's a McCarthyite way for progressives to silence anyone and blacklist anyone who dares to challenge their points of views. Progressives are some of the most thin-skinned people I have ever met in my life, and I am dead serious. It used to be that there were people on college campuses who were fighting for free speech back in the 1960s. And now all of a sudden they're canceling people like Bill Maher and Ben Shapiro, and because they dare to challenge progressives. This wokeness has gotten out of hand, and I resent the fact that we don't hear anything from progressives about their own. I mean, first of all, when progressives say that we need accountability, usually it's for people who say something that's politically incorrect. It's not usually for people who cyberbully and cyber harass, but, they didn't say anything about that. Bill Maher did a very good TED Talk on cancel culture. And one of the things that is also being exhibited by cancel culture is not just people who say things that are offensive, but people who defend those who say or do offensive things, like Chris Harrison from The Bachelor, who defended a contestant who posed with a Confederate flag in 2018. Now, I do not like the Confederate flag. I think it's a reprehensible symbol of hate. But we have to remember that people make mistakes. This was in college. This was a few years ago before this whole racial sensitivity thing kind of kicked in after the death of George Floyd. And because Chris Harrison dared to even give someone the benefit of the doubt, he's now being forced to step away. It's not about accountability. It's not. What does Chris Harrison have to be accountable for? Expressing his opinion, giving someone the benefit of the doubt, having a forgiving nature? Progressives want for there to be accountability for people who offend them, but they don't want accountability for people who deal drugs and for people who commit violent crimes. They want to go soft on criminals and hard on free thinkers. That's the way I see it. And I think that if we want any sanity left in our society, we have to challenge these progressives who think that silencing people and shutting down free speech is the perfect solution for being offended. I've been offended plenty of times, particularly by people on the progressive left. And unless it's harassment, I'm not going to demand that they be canceled. I'm going to fight fire with fire. I'm going to use my free speech to discuss what I think is wrong with the progressive left. That's what we do on the Blue Dog Whisperer. That's what all these podcasts are designed to do. That's what all these radio shows, television shows, newspapers. Political correctness and cancel culture is illiberal and is only doing one thing, and that is causing tension and policing speech and creating fear in people who dare to think for themselves. And we see it on college campuses. As someone who attends a university, I've seen it firsthand. Now, my university is actually pretty good compared to other universities, but I've still seen it firsthand how there is a hypersensitivity and social justice warrior BS, and I don't care for it. I really don't. And whenever you call people out, not always, but a lot of people will just refer to you as a boomer because you dare to think differently. So this is going to be a short podcast, but I just wanted to give my perspective on cancel culture. I think it's wrong. I think it's dangerous. I think it's a slippery slope. And I think that we are really degrading our society when we don't tolerate differences of opinion. You have a right to offend and be offended. You really do. They're canceling Abraham Lincoln in San Francisco because Abraham Lincoln might have done something with Native Americans that wasn't popular. These woke people need to get over themselves. People who believe in cancel culture are nothing more than politically correct Karens. And they are suffering from something that we call presentism. They apply a 2021 perspective to issues and logos and television shows and music and all these things that were made decades ago. It's ridiculous. So I think that more colleges need to teach presentism, need to teach the concept of presentism, because unfortunately a lot of these holier-than-thou progressives seem to be guilty of exhibiting that. And I think that's incredibly sad, and we got to work on tolerating differences of opinion. You don't have to like it, you don't have to embrace it, but it's America.